Regardless of the season a particular team just had, National Signing Day always brings hope. And for Nebraska, a season of missed opportunities and expectations. But again, Scott Frost brings in a top 20 recruiting class that will bring hope for 2021 and beyond. This is Nebraska Cornhuskers Live. We come your way every Thursday night. That's 5 o'clock in Lincoln at 6 o'clock on the East Coast. And do the math if you're catching us from somewhere else. So again, 6 Eastern, 5 Central every Thursday night. We have a great run of now 9 shows. They are brought to you by the fine folks and Cornhusker fans. So we've got Husker fans that have backed us to make this all possible at Phone Genie. And you go to ToleyBrothersLLC.com, ToleyBrothersLLC.com. Please check out the merchandise that they have available right there for top rate, first rate products for germ mitigation right there. So in this crazy year of 2020, and with the pandemic still, unfortunately, at a pace that it is, please check out for both work and for home germ mitigation products right there. All right, we're talking Nebraska football with National Signing Day and a game against Rutgers on Friday night. Of course, to top us off, we've got Greg Peterson, Husker Online, there in the middle with Rivals. We got Chris Wall with Husker Hype. We also have Zach Reeder joining us from Fifth Quarter College Football, talking Nebraska football. Guys, how we doing tonight?
Doing well.
We good?
We're doing good, Mark.
Yeah, doing good.
Well, Chris and Zach, if you don't mind, we're going to start with Greg. Give him the floor as the KG veteran here of recruiting wars down through the years, and get his take on this class. Greg and I got together yesterday to break down the class, so check out that video right here at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. So, Greg, your preliminary thoughts as we get started.
Another successful day on the recruiting trail, I'd call it. 19 commitments, holding on to the number 19 spot in the Rivals.com recruiting rankings. We all know that's always a fluid thing. Still with another signing day to go. But overall, Nebraska, they addressed their needs. They got the guys they targeted for the most part. And, no drama. Weren't waiting for anybody, a last-minute deal or anything like that, which is kind of a good thing. And I think Coach Frost even mentioned yesterday on the Big Ten Network that they were even more prepared for this signing day than they had been in the past due to the coronavirus conditions and everything. So I mean, it helps you out a lot when you get kids on campus early, which they did, and they benefited from that, and especially from a late commitment from Roquan Buckley, the defensive end. That the last visit that he took was to Nebraska back in January before things shut down. So that always helps when you can get a guy come in on his own dime and on an unofficial visit and see things, and you see it pay dividends there. But overall for the class, like a lot of size that they bring in. If you kind of look at the big guys that they brought in, it looks like a basketball roster. You got a 6'9", a 6'8", and a 6'6" offensive lineman coming in, and you got a 6'8", 6'9", and a 6'6" defensive ends coming in, and you got 3 tight ends that are all 6'6", and it looks like a basketball roster. But that's what you need. You need those big bodies, and all these guys got potential that put some weight on them and put some size on them and get them faster and stronger, and you see what they can do, coming down the pipe here in a couple of years. And obviously the bell cow is Thomas Fedoni, the tight end out of Council Bluffs, Iowa, number 1 player in Iowa. Everybody was after him, and that was another thing with the times that we're living in right now, that he grew up a Husker fan, and then he started getting all kinds of offers from the LSUs of the world and Notre Dames and everybody, and hard to say no to Iowa especially. But he'd been here several times, and he'd been to Iowa several times, and he didn't have a chance to go anywhere else. So basically, it came down to those two schools, and Nebraska did a great job of staying on him for the longest time. So you add two other tight ends to him to fill out that tight end room. AJ Rollins out of Omaha Creighton Prep, 6'6". He's got some work to do, but he can help out down the road. And James Carney out of Norris, Nebraska, here out of Firth, Nebraska, Norris High School. He's a good-looking guy too. He was committed to Ohio and Frank Solich, but Nebraska came through with an offer, and he's on board here too. And I mentioned the offensive line. Teddy Prohaska, another Rivals 100 kid, 6'9". He's been committed for a long, long time. And Henry Lutofsky, a kid out of Iowa that I love a lot. He's 6'6". He'll be a guard at Nebraska. He could even play center if he wanted to. But he's a road grader. I really love that kid a lot. And Bronson Yeager's a guy that I haven't got a chance to see much of. He's out from Utah, so we didn't get a chance to go out and see him. But he's 6'8", so he's another monster on the line there. And then you have the two pass rushers on the defensive line, which are going to help out a lot. And a nice-looking crop of linebackers coming in that's definitely going to help out a lot too. So some good wide receivers coming in that you hope can step up and take some snaps, when we need them here coming in. And Heinrich Harburg, quarterback out of Kearney, Nebraska, Kearney Catholic. Good-looking kid, another tall 6'5", 6'6" quarterback. Typical, looks like a pro-style quarterback, but he can go both ways. He runs. He's got some speed with him. He actually plays gunner on the punt team for him, and he runs back kickoffs for him too. So he can run, and he's got a cannon for an arm. He'll be somebody that can help out down the road as well. So a lot of good pieces that they've added in here, and I like it. I like it a lot, and still got a few more spots left to go. You'll probably see maybe three more, and they'll probably save about 3 for the transfer portal. And the big guy on the board that they're really looking at that is going to announce sometime, we don't know when yet, which is the linebacker out of Hawaii, the 4-star Wyndon Heuli. And hopefully he helps out and helps out Nebraska as well.
Before we pass it on to Chris, 2 things here. Number 1, leave your comments, your questions, your debate topics. We will get to them in the live chat. So college football fans, not only Nebraska fans, but we always have fans representing all fan bases out there. Just leave your comments in there. We will get to them. Number 2, before we pass it on to Chris, Greg, just a lot of people will hear the comment that you made about the one player being originally a commit to Ohio University out of the MAC. And the thought process is going to be, why are we fighting a MAC school for a player? I'll get you started by saying, go through the NFL rosters and you're going to see plenty of MAC players in the NFL. The MAC produces some tremendous talent, and we see that throughout all 10 FBS conferences. So I'll take it from there, or let you, Greg, take it from there in regards to just, I think there's a I know that there's a thought process out there when there's a certain standard of play and expectations of the team at Nebraska's level, and thinking, why are we messing around with guys that have been committed to a MAC school, for example?
Well, Nebraska traditionally it doesn't have a lot of talent coming out of the state year in and year out. And when you do have a local kid that is being interested by other schools, you have to pay attention to that. And in the past, the coaching staffs have kind of overlooked some of these kids coming out of the local product range here, and that's been a mistake on their part. You see a lot of Nebraska kids end up going to Iowa. A lot of them go to the MAC, like you say. A lot of them go to South Dakota State, North Dakota State, and are very, very successful. And, they land in the NFL too. So, recruiting's it's a funny game. It's cutthroat sometimes, and not every not every local kid can, grow up wanting to be a Husker. But Scott Frost and his staff, they know talent when they see it. And, we're talking about James Carney, and I'd met him, but I hadn't seen him play in person. I'm going back to like March or so. And I got to see him in a camp. There was only 2 camps that even went on this summer. And I got to see him in one, and he really, really impressed me. And, he'd had a few of those small MAC offers and stuff like that. And, once some people saw what he could do and saw him play in person, it was a no-brainer, easy offer kid. And I think, and especially with these times, like we've mentioned, you kind of got to stay local. Guys that can come and see your campus and can come to games. So that helps out a lot. And saying that, Nebraska in this class in the 2021 cycle, they've got 9 kids coming in, just within like a 2-hour drive. So, you got 5 from the state of Nebraska, you got 3 from Iowa, and you got 1 from South Dakota. And, you've got to count on those kind of kids. And, there's also some other talented kids out of this region that you see. You got a Keegan Johnson who just signed with Iowa yesterday. And you've got Avante Dickerson from Omaha West Side, who is committed to Minnesota, but decided not to sign yesterday. So, and we all know Nebraska's been recruiting him heavily for a couple of years now. So you never know if that's a kid that might switch too. So you really got to protect the borders and don't let any of these kids escape because, like we've seen, they can go and they can be big impact players at other programs.
Chris, your thoughts on the recruiting class?
Yeah, I mean, Greg hit on a lot of things, obviously, but as far as the kids being around local too, I think obviously, a lot of the kids still grow up Husker fans, but growing up as a kid probably in Nebraska isn't the same right now. I mean, kids like to watch winners, and Nebraska hasn't done much of winning lately. So you see some kids that are showing interest in other big schools like Notre Dame, LSU, and kind of venturing out a bit. But I think it's important to keep even the 3-star guys in Lincoln if you can. And like Greg was alluding to, some of those big guys that have got out and had a big impact at other schools. Like Noah Fant at Iowa. I mean, Iowa's been having great success with their tight ends. So I believe that James Carney, I think he had an offer from Iowa. So some of those guys I like that Nebraska just offers so that, they're not going other places. Other than that, looking around the board, really good size. Like Greg was saying, I like the length. I think Scott Frost is going for length. They need some pass rushers. So those guys on the edge they recruited hopefully can develop a little bit. And then obviously the tight end position. I think Nebraska's done a good job this season of using their tight end a little bit more too. Austin Ellen's got a lot of targets. So hopefully, Thomas can come in, make an impact, and then maybe Latrell Neville. And then there's one other tall guy, maybe Pat Payton or something. Pat Payton. So some wide receiver guys that can come in. And I like Thomas Fedone playing tight end and maybe even just throwing him out at wide receiver once in a while too, just because going into next year, I feel like their wide receiver, their tight end, not necessarily their tight end, but their wide receiver position is going to be very much like this. It's going to be basically Wandale Robinson has experience, and besides him, it's kind of, who can step up and show that they know the offense and catch balls. So, yeah, it's like you were saying, a top 20 class. Nebraska has been consistently able to do that. But what they haven't been able to do really is develop the talent and then keep some of those big guys around and, have them, develop into players that can help the program get wins. So we'll see if Scott Frost can maybe, turn that corner a little bit and developing these classes, especially coming up. I believe 2022, I'm looking way down the road, but 2022 has a lot of big time in-state talent. Especially in Omaha, I believe. So looking down the road, these next few classes, it's going to be important to lock down the borders and then just go get a couple of big-time players out of the South and maybe California. But overall, they're a good class. They got Thomas Fedone, so we'll go from there.
Yeah, and I think you hit on a couple key points, and that development is now the key, but you've got the talent in the class. I'm very excited to see a guy like a Camonte Grimes. I mean, it's interesting because we were talking about that Florida recruiting dynamic and how Nebraska's been struggling to keep those guys around. And here we got another guy from Naples, Florida coming in, bigger receiver, a lot of talent. You watch his film. It's as impressive as I've seen from any of the Nebraska guys that have come in from Florida. So I'm extremely intrigued to see what happens with that. The class looks outstanding. I mean, I don't think anybody can disagree with that. And I think there's a long way to go on the class. But I think, Avante Dickerson not signing, I think that could be something, especially once the season wraps up here in a few weeks, that you could see Nebraska pushing hard until February to try to get a flip there.
Yeah. So how confident are we there, Greg, with Avante Dickerson? Is that it's obviously not a good sign that he didn't put his name on the dotted line yesterday, but that he's going to wait until February.
Yeah, well, I think I've mentioned it a couple of times that this is no surprise whatsoever. And Toby Bretz, who just signed yesterday from Westside, is Avante's best friend. So there's always been a lot to think about here. And guys like Thomas Fedone is also close with Avante. All these guys keep in touch with each other. Teddy Prohaska, they're all buddies. So, I think Avante's been having second thoughts for quite some time now. And this is a big decision for a young man. It's got to be the right fit. And, it's possible that he might have pulled the trigger a little bit early on committing to Minnesota without, being able to see things through. And obviously he hasn't been able to get to a game this year. And, so that kind of hurts. I mean, he has visited there on his own dime, but, I think it's a big time good thing for Nebraska. I expect him to actually flip and sign with Nebraska at some point. Now I don't know that for sure or not, but that's just my gut feeling. And, as you guys were mentioning, working down the line here, Nebraska already just put out a couple of big time offers yesterday with Maverick Noonan. That's Danny Noonan's son. He's out of Elkhorn South, Nebraska, and he's a sophomore. Both these guys are sophomores. They're going to be a 2023 class. But also Tony Tuiotti's son who plays at Lincoln Southeast they offered, and he's a heck of a football player too. And those are probably my top two guys coming out of the state in 2023 right now. And they just got offered by Frost and their staff. So I mean, they know what's going on around here, and it's just getting better and better. They're gonna stop these border wars, and they're gonna keep most of these guys in state from now on.
Is there a particular position unit on the field that didn't get addressed to the extent that it needed to, or any other glaring weakness in this class?
In my opinion, I mean, they're bringing in one running back. You might have wanted maybe another back there. And then a little bit shy on the secondary. You would have liked to see maybe a couple of more corners. You're losing a lot of seniority out of that backfield. So, those are some of those positions that you can't have enough of. And obviously you've seen Nebraska's running back room, like I was mentioning, running back room was Dedrick Mills and not much else because everybody's been banged up and not been able to get with the program so far. So those were those two big things. And you always want to get, as many of those defensive linemen and pass rushing type outside linebackers that you can get. So, they're still working on it. And like I said, there's still a few more spots left, and we'll see what they end up with.
Yeah, interesting you mentioned the pass rushers. I think that's the thing that I noticed the most about that was kind of missing from this class, because you look at the guys that are at the D-line position from the class, they're 280, 290, more run-stuffing guys. And I know Nebraska tends to recruit inside linebackers and move them out, but you want those true pass rushers as much as you can get, because anytime you can disrupt the quarterback, it really helps out a secondary.
Well, that's the Jalen Weaver, he's 6'8", 320, but he's a defensive end and he's a big time pass rusher. I don't think you need to watch his film. This guy gets after the quarterback like crazy, and he's going to be a matchup nightmare when he gets here.
Do you guys have anything on this running back, Audric Estime? I may be pronouncing his name incorrectly. He's a hard commit to Michigan State, but he didn't sign, and David Knight brought him up in the chat as being available, but I don't see Nebraska on his list. He's out of St. Joseph's Regional in New Jersey.
Yeah, I don't think Nebraska's been in contact with him.
All right. David also commenting about Nebraska going to California and Texas. Maybe they can make some inroads there. We've certainly had that conversation a number of times, Greg, in regards to where they're strong and where they've been strong in the past in recruiting and where the footprint is.
Well, if you look, like when Big Ten Network does their signing day special and they show the map on where everybody's getting their commits from, you notice Nebraska's national. I mean, they have to be national. They've always been a national, recruiting team. Tom Osborne did wonders recruiting nationally, but Nebraska they were the most spread out of the big schools in the Big Ten. They had a commit from California. They had a couple from Texas. They had a couple from Georgia, New Jersey. So, you see the spattering around. I think people just kind of want to see more of those kind of guys, but you only need a few of those guys anyway. If you can fill your needs elsewhere, you got to get them where you can, and you got to get the guys that are going to fit your program, fit the culture of your program. And I think we've seen some of these South Florida kids haven't been fitting that culture lately. And hopefully Kamani Grimes is one of those guys that does come in and fit that culture.
Got 11 Ipe Central. I guess that's how you pronounce it. He's been commenting to the channel a lot here in the last few days with the question of the night. Who do you think will win the Super Bowl? I think 11 Ipe Central, you might have the wrong show here, but keep it right here. We are talking football. So you're in the general vicinity. We're not talking needlepoint. So we are talking football, but yeah, we may not get to that question quite yet.
A lot of football to play, Mark.
How about the Chiefs? Chiefs go back to back. There you go.
I know the Chiefs are out of it, so I don't have a dog in the fight.
I don't need. Well, actually, the Browns dropped a tough one the other night, but still at 9-4. Still technically in it. Absolutely. Vinay, Mark, you ready for Quinn to light up the Big Ten? Okay, let's stay on the Nebraska trail here with some more Husker talk. We're here every Thursday night with these guys. You got Chris Wall on the top from Husker Hype. Got Zach Reeder from Fifth Quarter College Football. And, of course, Greg Peterson joins us from Husker Online on Rivals. And so you got to get on over to Rivals. We know it's one of the industry standards for recruiting. So check out their recent work over there on Rivals, Husker Online. So we can always, of course, as we survey the chat, get back to any other recruiting questions. But this Rutgers game, Greg and I talked about it yesterday, so I'll turn to you first, Zach, this time around. Your thoughts about the importance of this game, how this game is going to be approached, how it should be approached. Is this a scrimmage, a very high-level scrimmage that's going to be broadcast, of course, on national TV? But, what's the thought process there for you, and what do you want to see?
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this game, I mean, we always say this towards the end of the season, even when you're having, the season you didn't expect, ending the season with any positive momentum. I don't know exactly what's going to happen with the Champions Week, with a bowl game potentially. But assuming that this is the last game, it's important to end the season on the right note. We have a young offensive line group projected to start this game and get Brendan Hymus, who opts out for the rest of the season. So it's important to get those guys in the flow of a game. You want to see that balance. You want to see guys like Adrian Martinez continue to build His downfield passing is still struggling a bit, but you're starting to see him get a little bit more flow. So hopefully he can continue to build off that and get better. And just seeing, some of the younger guys get in and the defense continue to make strides like they are, I think it's really important to end the season on a high note, because I think it leads into the offseason, into the recruiting trail, and then into next year. With any positive momentum you can get, it's going to be really, really good for the program.
I don't want to overplay it, but it's not exactly like Adrian Martinez got off his deathbed or anything like that. Like it was a comeback of the year, but still at the same time, I got to give it up for a guy who has been hyped as much as he has, and that he has nothing to do with that. That's just the media and the fans building him up, but into a Heisman contender last year. He struggled through a season in which he wasn't 100% for the season and had to battle a lot of difficult injuries, and the team let him down around him as well. And then he comes into this season, he wins the job, he gets knocked around a little bit. Luke McCaffrey comes in, makes a few plays, people get on his train for a week or two, and then Adrian comes back and he's pretty much cleaned up his game, protected the football, delivered the ball on time, delivered it on the money. Could have led a fourth quarter drive late in the game against Iowa if he wasn't blasted from a protection issue. Who knows what would have happened there in the final minute against the Hawkeyes on the road. But, he certainly has battled and shown himself and his character here in the last few weeks. Anybody's thoughts on Adrian Martinez?
I'm still thinking about Rutgers.
My bad. I took it in another direction there.
No, I agree with you. I think he's played well. Against Minnesota here, obviously, he took a bit of a step back with his accuracy and decision making, but I think that he's answered the call and kind of established himself and put himself in a position to move forward for next season. So and I didn't expect anything less of Adrian. Obviously, getting benched sent him a message, and that message was that it just wasn't good enough. And because there's capable people behind him, and he's a smart enough of a guy to know that he's got to get better, and that he will. So I expect him to take another step forward starting next season.
You guys have anything on Martinez play?
With Martinez, I would agree with Greg that he took a little bit of a step back this past week. He just missed a couple wide open guys. I do know that he took kind of a hard hit. He might have been injured there for a little bit, but just the accuracy is off, and there's some things that he does in the pocket that are sometimes just a little bit odd. He sometimes doesn't recognize pressure right in front of his face, so there's some things that he's got to clean up. But I do think at this point in the season that he's obviously the guy. He's going to be the guy going into the season next year. But he's got some things to definitely clean up to be able to make this offense work. This offense is quick. It runs tempo, and he needs to be able to make quick decisions and deliver the ball accurately. So I do think he's the guy moving forward. I do think he has shown some more explosiveness with his run game. He's looked as explosive with his feet that I can see that in a while. So that's positive. But like I said, just those few things that he needs to improve on, and hopefully he can, maybe hit some passes versus Rutgers and on a solid, note this last game.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's been like kind of a mental block for him. It seems like that's the part that's kind of holding him back, because all the physical tools are there. We saw it as a freshman. And, yeah, it just seems like he's a step behind in his progressions in the offense. It seems like he's waiting a bit too long, and that causes, the pressure to come right into his face and him not even notice it at times. And, but I do like what we're seeing in the run game from him. I think that there's strides that he can make in the pass game. The good thing is that if it is something that's mental, it can be worked on. And I think, with having the physical tools, it gives you that ceiling that Husker fans like to see that he still has the ability to be the starting quarterback.
And I think last week, you gotta put him in a position to succeed. They start off that game with that silly swing pass that they lose 9 yards on, and it puts them in a hole. And I think when Adrian gets in a hole like that, I think he presses a little bit, and he tries to hurry things up and doesn't go through all of his progressions. And it just said that start of that game, it just led to just poor execution all day long, and for not to you're playing it against the worst run defense in the Big Ten, and you're not running the ball against a team that everybody's running it up the gut against and killing them at, and you just don't do that. And while you're throwing it around and giving him those chances to make mistakes, I just don't understand what their play calling thought process was last week in that game.
As I was delivering my take on this, Husker Chuck said this, and this could have come out of my mind at the same time. And again, I concede to the floor because I'm a guy that watches 5, 6, 7 games a year, reads a little bit, knows who generally the starting lineup is on both sides of the ball. But I am nowhere near the three of you in regards to the day-to-day analysis of the team and the personnel and the roster, and certainly with Greg and the recruiting as these guys come into the program. So, but I was thinking the same thing that Husker Chuck wrote here, because I remember when Adrian Martinez was signed, and Greg could spit out probably the rankings on that particular year. I don't remember where he was ranked, but I remember hearing a lot about him. And Husker Chuck says Martinez does not have the ceiling it appeared he had as a freshman, but he's currently the best we have.
Yeah, well, a lot of people hadn't heard of him because he was hurt his senior year of high school. He missed the whole senior year, and he actually came back and he played in the Under Armour All-American game. But he'd been a high 4-star coming out of his junior season. He had a huge junior season out in Fresno, and got hurt. I think it was in the playoffs that year, his junior season, and then was committed to Tennessee. And with the circumstances that happened at Tennessee, he opened his recruitment back up and ended up committing to Frost and Coach Verduzco, who had recruited him when they were at Central Florida, so they were already familiar with him. And he was a borderline. I mean, he was like a Rivals 250 kid, and it seems like Nebraska's kind of been in this cycle where you're getting these guys, these high 4-star, Elite 11 guy like a Patrick O'Brien, a Tristan Jebbia, and Adrian Martinez, and none of them either stick around or they get the chance or they just don't perform like you want them to. And I think there's just a lot of pressure playing quarterback for Nebraska to start with. And, you got to remember that these kids they're 18, 19 years old, and you got a whole weight of Husker Nation on your shoulders. That's not an easy thing to do to perform every day. But I think Adrian, he's a smart enough of a guy and a high character kid that he's going to turn things around.
Talk Nebraska football here each and every Thursday night, 6 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Central. And it is brought to you by the fine folks and the Cornhusker fans there at Phone Genie. Phone Genie, you'll find out all about the germ mitigation products that they have available there at ToleyBrothersLLC.com. It's ToleyBrothersLLC.com. You see it on the banner right there. And concerning the situation in the country, the issues and the challenges we're all facing, it would be a great stop for you to make there to protect your home and your workplace, as Toley Brothers has germ mitigation products at the very top of the line. All right, Nebraska's got a date against Rutgers in our Big Ten championship weekend, which I thought was a great idea, considering all the negatives to 2020, that once the Big Ten got it together and finally decided to play some football and put a season together, that they figured, okay, well, one way to get an extra game in for everybody else and kind of protect the season to a certain extent to get that extra game in, because it's going to be difficult, as we've seen, to get games in. Might as well have everybody play on championship weekend and not just isolate the championship game, which is kind of odd. They're going to be games played in the Big Ten after, well, with so many going down the last few days, I don't know. I was going to say there's going to be games played after the Big Ten championship game. There were supposed to be. Michigan and Iowa was a primetime game that got canceled. Michigan State, Maryland got canceled today. Purdue, Indiana for the Old Oaken Bucket. That one's out the window. So I think we technically have one left, which would be Minnesota, Wisconsin play, I think, a 3:30 or 4 o'clock game Eastern time on Saturday after the Big Ten title game. And then, of course, Nebraska, Rutgers. So we're down to 3 precious games left in the Big Ten season. So at least the Huskers are still on the field as we sit here Thursday night. You never know when the news is coming, but at least they could get some valuable reps in.
Yeah, I can confirm that the equipment truck made it to Piscataway ahead of the blizzard. So they are there, and they are here there. And the team took off at about 1 o'clock today. So keep your fingers crossed that they landed. But this is kind of this is a big deal for Nebraska. Nationally, they're taking everybody's jokes about wanting to play football, and here they are with 2 wins. And I guess this weekend we're going to see how bad they really do want to play football, because this is going to be – it's supposed to be wicked cold tomorrow night there. So who knows how that's going to affect things. They didn't get as much snow, apparently, as they thought they were going to get, so that might help out a little bit. But, like you said, Mark, there's some valuable reps to be taken here. And with Brendan Hymas opting out for the NFL draft, Turner Corcoran, true freshman, is going to take over his starting position. And, this is some valuable learning experience for Turner. And this is exactly the same thing that Brendan Hymas did when he was a true freshman. He stepped in for somebody who opted out and got to play at the end of his freshman year too. So, look at this as kind of a passing of the guard. And so that'll be big for him. Obviously big for the team. You want to go out with a win. You need this confidence to build on. And don't be surprised. There might be another game under Nebraska's belt. Right now, with the situations that I'm hearing in the Big Ten, a lot of teams have already just decided to shut things down and don't want to play a bowl game. So that means that there's probably going to be 7 Big Ten bowl spots available. So, and if Nebraska doesn't do a bowl game, they could possibly even schedule something else. So don't be surprised if that's a possibility as well. So, there's still a lot to play for, and I think you're going to see, a lot of young guys get some snaps. You're going to see some evaluations going on out there. So it all depends on how they come out and how they want to take this game. You want to see these guys play football, or if they've always just mailed it in and want to call it quits. But I have a sneaking suspicion that Coach Frost and the staff have these guys ready to go. And I think they're going to be hungry. It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be cold. And Rutgers is completely banged up. They're missing all kinds of guys. Starting guys are out. Noah Vedral is hurt. He's a game-time decision. So that would limit their running game out of the backfield. So, and Rutgers, they don't run the ball very well. And if you shut down their passing game, they're going to struggle. So, on paper, you look at this going in like last week, if you say, Minnesota hadn't played in 22 days. They were down 33 players. They were a mash unit, and they came in and handed it to Nebraska. So, if you're looking at it like that, you think Nebraska's going to dominate. But we've yet to see that. And, I expect this to be a pretty low-scoring game, in my opinion, and dominated by the defensive side of the ball.
With all the football that we've missed in 2020, I'm all for all these road games being scheduled. I'm good with that. Just schedule as many football games as you can. If programs want to keep playing football, hey, Nebraska, go schedule a game with Kansas State. We'll throw it on TV. Sure, let's watch it. And I can attest to the weather forecast, Greg. I'm about 2 hours north of Piscataway, New Jersey, and I've got about 8 inches of snow on my deck, just a few feet away from me. So it's mighty cold and a bit, it's pretty brisk out there. So it's not going to be a whole lot of fun. So you are going to find out who wants to be out there playing football tomorrow night. Chris, we'll kick it to you in regards to your thoughts about Nebraska, Rutgers, and anything in a possible postseason.
Yeah, I mean, it's the end of the season. If you would have told me at the beginning of the season that Nebraska was going to be playing Rutgers on a Friday night to end the season, it'd be like, oh man. But it means a lot more. It means a lot more than that feeling. You know, they got to come up with some momentum here and find a way to win, like Zach was saying, and end the season on a win and move forward here. Like Greg was saying, it's going to be really cold. It's going to be late. I think there's 0 fans allowed. I think there's not even any parents allowed in this game. Nebraska's at least allowing parents, but I think there's going to be pretty much 0 people there. So you're gonna have to bring your own juice, your own energy, and I think Frost will have them ready. I'd like to see the offense play clean. I'd like to see him maybe hit a pass that travels in there more than 20 yards. I'd like to see them give the young O-line the reins and say, hey, we're going to run the ball this entire drive. You guys need to move some people out of the way. Give the ball to Mills and run some people over on offense. So play clean, run the ball well, and hit some nice passes. On defense, play loose, play aggressive. It's your last game. Go out there and have fun and play aggressive. Come up with a few sacks, some pressure. Cam Taylor-Britt, obviously one of the best players on the team, was ejected last week again, targeting. So I know he's going to be hungry to come out there and lead the defense and get a win. So it's Rutgers on a Friday night, but it's a lot more than that. Like Greg was alluding to, possible bowl game. Everything's crazy right now. Who decides to go to a bowl? Who knows? They got to fill those spots. I was reading one publication the other day that Nebraska was predicted to go to the Duke's Mayo Bowl. So, maybe we'll beat Rutgers and I'll be wearing Duke's Mayo Bowl T-shirts here in a few days.
I'm playing who?
I'm not sure. I think it might be an ACC team. I think maybe Wake Forest.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm interested to see who's at quarterback for Rutgers. I know Greg mentioned Vedril's been banged up. He has been for a few weeks. As far as their other quarterback situation, Sertowski is a very one-dimensional quarterback. Guy really can't move around. And then you got Jake Langen, who's a receiver/quarterback, and he can only run. So you know what you're going to get if you're not going to get Vedril. That's why Vedril has been their best option this year. So I expect the defense to be really aggressive and kind of dominate this game, keep it down there, low scoring. And if the offense can really hit any big plays, you got to like Nebraska's chances. But then again, Greg said it best, who knows with this season? Because we really don't know, as far as how everything's been going.
Got David Knight, of course, again here in the live chat. If you had a choice, so you young guys are going to have to maybe go into the archives here. I don't know if how stout you are on early 80s Nebraska football with Turner Gill there. But if you had a choice, Tommy Frazier, Eric Crouch, Turner Gill, Knight's going with Tommy, and throw in Johnny Rogers, of course, of 1972, 71, 72 fame, Heisman fame.
Yeah, I got Tommy Frazier all the way. Touchdown, yeah. Tommy Frazier. No, he was so exciting to watch. I'm not saying Eric Crouch wasn't fun to watch or Turner Gill, but Tommy Frazier, he's probably one of my favorite Huskers of all time because I was right out of not quite. I guess I was right out of college then, and he takes it for me. He's probably my favorite player in Husker history.
Wyatt here. I know this is Nebraska Talk, but Mark, you mentioned Chris Olave having COVID as well as other Buckeyes. So I haven't heard that officially, but there's been so much talk about it. And I've been sitting here basically with my rear end planted to this seat since like 11:30 in the morning. So I've been recording like every 15 minutes, so I haven't looked into that. But yeah, apparently Chris Olave, again, based on everybody bringing me reports through the live chat, but it will not be announced until our Buckeye people telling us sometime on Friday is typically when they've released the active list or inactive list on Friday morning about 10 a.m. So that's when we'll get the official word there.
That's big for them.
Yeah, he can play. He is a player, but they should have enough for Northwestern. But I would not look past that game. That Northwestern bunch, they will come and they'll hit you.
Mm-hmm.
I think from all the takes that I get from the Buckeye crowd, they're taking Northwestern a bit lightly, and I get that in a way. Yes, we know who's going to send more NFL players to the next level. There's no question about that. But oh my goodness, they can play defense, and if they protect the ball and can hit on some plays and maybe come up with some plays during the week where they can generate some offense, they could give Ohio State all they could handle.
Never know.
You know,
Yep.
That's why they get out there and play. Somebody said that once. All right, Ronan, thank you so much for the super chat. We appreciate that. Ronan's a Miami fan, so he's always on here on our Miami shows and drops in for other shows. So he says, missed the Miami Live, so got to support on the Huskers show. Keep up the great work, Mark, and great show, gentlemen. Hard for a Canes fan to enjoy Nebraska talk, so great job all around. Go Canes. Ronan, we always appreciate your support. You're always here for us. Thank you so much for that.
Wouldn't mind playing in the Canes again one of these days.
Yeah, that was quite the series from that Turner Gill 83/84 Orange Bowl game up and through when Nebraska beat them about 12 years later for a national championship. And then they played that home and home series, in about 16 and 17?
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dula. Yeah, that was good stuff. That was one of the louder games I've been to in Memorial Stadium. That was a night game. That was a lot of fun.
And again, Chris and Zach may not be able to relate to this, but it's going to do my heart good to see Nebraska the uniforms on the field with Oklahoma.
Yeah,
at the same time. That's going to be a good look. Hopefully, they're up for the challenge and ready to go, and it's a good series. But just to see those uniforms on the same field is going to bring back a lot of memories.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Vinay tells us that that active list isn't going to be released until Saturday. Before we get your picks on the Rutgers game and anything else you guys want to point out before we head on out, wanted to get all your thoughts just on where the season stands right now in terms of the Big Ten championship game, the college football playoff, how you feel about the way things are shaping up. You think anybody's getting railroaded, robbed? If anybody's under the radar that we're not thinking about or not getting enough love from the college football playoff committee. So, Zach, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of been on the Coastal train. I think they're getting a little bit robbed. I know the competition hasn't been as good, but, not seeing them in the top 10 is interesting. Cincinnati a little bit as well. I mean, Florida loses to LSU last week, and they moved down one spot. And Cincinnati's still below them as being an undefeated team. So I'm all for, I've been a Power 5 guy. I've been the guy the last couple of years that's been fighting for the Power 5s to make sure they get their spots. But, seeing those undefeated teams in the group of 5, not being respected in the college football playoff, I think is really, really interesting. So I think those are the teams I'm seeing not getting any love. But I'm really intrigued for the Iowa State Oklahoma game because Iowa State jumps up to 6. And they're just sitting right on the edge right now. So we'll see how that game plays out. And I think, you could see a lot of things, depending on this Notre Dame Clemson game, it really could blow up. And we could see, we could be in for a couple days that are really wild.
Yeah, exactly. For those people that wrote out the Big 12 champion a long, long time ago, all you have to do is say Alabama wins the SEC, whoever wins the Big 10, let's say Ohio State, and Notre Dame sweeps Clemson and knocks them out with 2 losses. Looks like that 4th slot is at least going to be under strong consideration from the Big 12 champion, with Iowa State getting all that love from the committee right now at number 6.
Stranger things have happened. I'm pulling for Iowa State. That'd be
Yeah,
neat.
I would like to see somebody else win that conference. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they have not won a conference championship since 1912.
No, and Matt Campbell's got that program chugging. I mean,
he's good.
I like that guy. he's
they both.
The one guy that says I can go win at Iowa State, and he's proven that he can do it.
And James Scott, you're right. I was just brushing through the games and forgot about the 0-1 Rose Bowl, of course, for the national championship. And Nebraska got down a ton of points early in a 37-14 final.
Well, Jeremy
that one. Yeah, that team was loaded. No question about that.
The NFL guys were on that team, like 30.
Exactly. They were just stocked with talent. There is one other legitimate question in here that we could hit you with. Matthew is asking about any possible assistant coaching changes.
That's always a possibility. Coach Frost and his staff are pretty tight, but it's also, you're not in this business to make friends either. So, if there's a change that needs to be made, I'm sure that it's going to be made. But right now, I wouldn't count on that. I think it's more of a personnel thing that they're just trying to get guys playing the way they want them to play. And I think you see another year with this coaching staff the way it is.
All right, guys. We're going to serve up the Rutgers game on the road in Piscataway, Nebraska. I have not looked at the line. I'm going to guess Nebraska is a field goal favorite, I would think.
I think it's 7.
Is it 7? Okay. Yeah. As you mentioned, Rutgers has some injury and personnel issues. There's no question about that. But this is no joke of a football team. I'm not selling them as great by any stretch, but the strides that Greg Schiano has made this year is mighty impressive. They're playing like a legitimate Big Ten team. Not a good one, but like they belong in the league, as opposed to being an FCS team over the last 4 or 5 years. It lost 21 straight in the Big Ten. In most of those games, I did the math one day, and it was like by over 45 points per game average, like just annihilated week after week. And they've shown up and won some football games this year. Beat Purdue, beat Michigan State.
Yeah, they're legit.
Beat Illinois. All right. We'll start with you, Greg, in regards to a selection on this one.
Well, like I said, I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair due to the weather. So I'm going to say I think Nebraska wins this thing 17-13.
Zach?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Nebraska 21-14.
Yeah, I think it'll be a little bit lower too. I expect. I actually just posted mine a little bit ago. I'm going to say 24-20. Nebraska wins this one.
Nebraska fans, we'd like to keep this going throughout the off season. We come your way every Thursday night at 6 Eastern, 5 Central, talking Nebraska football, but certainly don't take it for granted. We need contributions from you, so we thank you so much for everybody that did provide those. I jotted those down, but unfortunately that got away from me, but we acknowledge those at the time, so thank you so much for that. We've got a sponsor in Phone Genie right now from Tolley Brothers, so please join them at TolleyBrothersLLC.com. And again, it's a very just a series of interesting products that help germ mitigation both in the home and in the workplace. So check them out at TolleyBrothersLLC.com. And we thank them so much for their support for the first several weeks of this show. But to continue on, we need more sponsorship help. So if you've got any ideas, suggestions, contacts to make, please contact me at MarkRogersTV at Gmail, MarkRogersTV at Gmail. For Greg Peterson, Husker Online, on Rivals, also Chris Wall from Husker Hype, and also Zach Reed on Fifth Quarter College Football. It's another Nebraska live show. Enjoy the game on a Friday night, and we will see you guys in a week.
Sounds good. Take care, guys.
See you guys. Thanks, Mark.